Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome. This is day 2 of our 3-day challenge. Yesterday, I asked you to go over and look at different stores that are performing well, along with breaking down what is bringing them the most sales. If you haven't watched day 1, make sure to catch the replay. Today, we're going to discuss how you can attract ready to buy customers on Etsy, right? The $1,000,000 question. But first, let's go over what are some of the roadblocks that you might be experiencing as a new Etsy seller. The first one is traffic and not getting enough views to your listing. Yesterday, we talked about the potential of Etsy and how it's important for you to tap into the already existing customer base of Etsy. That's the number one step, right? Forget about bringing social media traffic, forget about Etsy ads. Majority of the time when you are starting out, it's understanding how to create a listing that is actually going to attract your customers. And we're going to talk more in depth about this today. So the principle of sales and getting that conversion is understanding how to have a listing that people actually want and how to differentiate your listing from what is already out there. And then the third one, which actually is not talked about enough, is time. A lot of times I've noticed when folks start out with Etsy, they don't upload as many listings as they should. Now, I'm not saying you need to upload 1,000 listings, but when you are starting out, you just simply don't have data and understanding of what's going to perform well. Versus someone like me who's been in the trenches now for 3 years, I know through trial and error and through data what works and what doesn't work. So obviously, you have to pick your battle, right? When you have the knowledge gap, you are going to have to upload more listings to understand what works for you until you crack it. When you have the knowledge, then obviously it's about applying the knowledge that is shared with you and making sure that you understand the potential. So with all that said, actually something that's important and maybe we don't spend enough time talking about is mindset. And now before you roll your eyes and you're like, not another talk about mindset, it's actually more important than you think, because most times people dabble with a business or a side hustle, and when they don't see results right away, they give up and move on to another side hustle. And I understand, you'd have to be mad to upload hundreds of listings and continue going without having any proof that this is going to work. So actually a little story time before we move on, just to give you some insight. Back in the day, maybe like 8 years ago, I actually started my YouTube channel and I was uploading on YouTube weekly. And I was getting frustrated because by the end of the year, I did not really get much traction. I got better at doing videos, but I wasn't getting traction. And in hindsight, what I really should have done is actually invested in my knowledge and worked with someone who knew what was needed in order for me to start getting more traction on Etsy, or do like what Mr. Beast did, right? Really study and understand what is the anatomy of a perfect video in order to start getting more traction. And this is what I want you to do, part of the exercise of today, right? So I want you to first and foremost, I want you to start focusing your effort or stop focusing your efforts in what doesn't matter, because that is what's hurting you. So negative mindset, our brain is really good at self-sabotaging us. And so when we don't see an immediate result, we think that the system is rigged against us. When in reality, you are actually, your brain is almost sabotaging you. Yes, because our brain likes the known versus the unknown. And when you are starting any sort of business, you have to venture into the unknown. So with all that said, one big misconception that I have seen over and over again is this concept that you need to have branding on Etsy. When you are just starting out, you don't have enough data, and it's kind of chicken before the egg to understand what's going to work for you. And Etsy is actually the perfect testing ground because it's a marketplace. So I would say that on Etsy, because it's a trusted platform and people actually trust Etsy and they purchase on Etsy, you don't need to have impeccable branding, especially when you're starting out. You can have a general store and you can sell different products in different niches. You might have this preconceived notion that, oh, the Christian niche is going to do really well. Oh, the yoga niche I heard is going to do really well. And you only start uploading products only in these different niches. And then you get frustrated because you're not getting any positive feedback or getting sales. And then you think the system is rigged and you think Etsy's the issue because you've seen other people being successful. When in reality, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what you're uploading. So I know it sounds very simple, right? Yet hard to crack, but really it is, because everything else is fluff. You have to concentrate on having a listing that people want, which is why in today's exercise, or the exercise I'm giving you guys like throughout the day challenge, are so important for you to do, because it's going to help you understand first what people are actually buying, right? So this first step. And today we're going to talk about how to attract these customers. So once you have momentum, then you can build a brand. But your step one is to be consistent with the process of uploading, understanding that whatever you're uploading, how can you make it better? Literally look at these bestsellers and try to reverse engineer and understand, why is it performing well, right? Try to get and understand why is it performing well, and then go from there. Another misconception is this concept of pricing and thinking that you have to price your items lower than your competition. That couldn't be further away from the truth. Now, it is a marketing hack that some Etsy sellers use, especially in the apparel niche, to have more competitive pricing in order to rank their item. But those are folks who are experienced sellers. They've been doing it for a while. When you are not an advanced seller, it's actually doing you a disservice, because again, it's almost like you're spending time in things that don't matter when your energy needs to be strictly in the Etsy uploading process, uploading listings. This is what your energy needs to be in, especially when starting out. So when you create an irresistible listing like this personalized blanket, which has been trending for a while, and it includes a custom handwriting. So essentially, like, it's a letter. Obviously, the retail price can be higher simply because there's an emotional connection. There's a high sentimental value with this particular gift. And overall, that needs to be your goal. You need to make sure that you upload items with high sentimental value. Also, I've seen an emphasis on products, right? Again, people buy emotion, not products per se. And sometimes new sellers want to have very different products. And I'm not saying that there's no opportunities with new products. However, what happens a lot of times is that they're spending so much time trying to find the perfect product that they never upload anything. And you're better off picking a product that's already true and tested to get your feet wet, to understand what has potential, start again getting better and gathering data to understand what has potential, versus spending all this time trying to have the perfect product and not upload anything. So I like to give this metaphor as to Etsy being land, like a big piece of land, right? Like, let's say you're a farmer. So look at it as a farmer, you need to be able to plant as many crops as possible to see which one is going to give you potential. And again, I'm simplifying it, but really what it comes down to. I know it doesn't sound sexy and like the latest hack, but like, it's like losing weight, okay? Like, yes, everybody's using Ozempic now, but there's repercussion to using Ozempic. Plainly put it, right? So with Etsy, it all comes down to understanding what is going to help you get the data that's going to help you have a good listing, versus trying to find a quick hack, a quick SEO hack, a quick this in order to get those sales, right? So look at Etsy as practically a free data machine. Etsy could be your stepping ground, but instead of going and spending money in inventory and perhaps going to a farmer's market, Etsy's your opportunity to go to the farmer's market every day, every time you upload a listing, to get data as to whether or not customers like your listing, which is why I love Etsy, because essentially it's an opportunity for you to understand what people like and want. And it's going to be very different from what you assume they want. And that's when a lot of time, like, ego gets in the way, because we have this preconceived notion that we know best. but data knows best. I hate to break it to you, but yes, data knows best, right? So Etsy is a data machine. And so your goal is to understand what customer want without spending thousands of dollars in advertising or trying to build a brand. Because when you are starting a Shopify store, or even when you are doing affiliate marketing, you're going through the same process, by the way. You're going through the same process of testing and understanding what people want. And people who create products from scratch are people who took themselves as the customer avatar of like, okay, I saw a girl actually, she created, because icing your face apparently is good for blemishes and has like other properties. And she created like an ice roller that's really easy to, I don't know, to use. And she was a test market. She tested it on herself. She created a solution. And again, like she spent money in inventory, but I would say that in most, so unless you're not part of the avatar, you have to look at data, especially when it comes to Etsy, because Etsy is a marketplace where you have to understand A, what people are actively buying, and B, what is in demand, right? So how do I attract customers to buy? Like, what's this magic formula that I can use? Well, there's no magic formula, but understanding customer psychology. And I know this sounds really boring. It's marketing 101. This is where things get a little tricky, but this is where you actually need to spend time understanding. And again, part of it is looking at bestsellers that you identified yesterday and reverse engineering to understand who they're going after. So understand who your potential customer is and what drives them to buy. And I don't mean like, oh, female 18 to 34. That's not detailed enough. What are they into? What kind of music are they into? What are their needs? Are they a student? Are they in nursing school? Like, obviously, there's going to be different avatars, but it's important to understand that. And again, it's not sexy, but it does make all the difference in the type of listings you're going to be uploading. And your listing is your website, again, which is why branding is not important, especially when you start out, because your listing is your website. So I would say branding needs to happen in the list at the listing level and not at the Etsy store level. So this particular product, which actually has only been uploaded a couple months ago, the reason it's doing well is because it's not necessarily looking at a niche per se, but it's understanding. First, it's understanding a trend, a design trend, which is the description trend. I'm sure you've seen it if you spent any time on Etsy. So this is doing well. The second thing worth noting is that it's also going after different niches. So it's opening up the possibility of it getting traffic. And then it's also tapping into what people are into now, this year, these next couple of years. Difference maker, right? A dedicated person who can make a big impact. So this could be for a coworker, this could be for a mentor, this could be for a graduation gift, this could be for a coworker. Like, this has multiple purposes, which is why this item is doing so well. And again, it's different from everything else that is out there. So how were they able to come up with this idea? They probably looked at data to understand what was doing well. They probably saw a reference as far as like trends. They blended those ideas together, but overall they understood the needs of their customer. They connected them together. They blended ideas together. And this is how you get folks excited to purchase something. Versus, and sorry if, please don't take offense, but like, this is what many beginners post. And they might think, okay, this is great for people who love turtles or love the ocean, but where is your data? Because all the traffic in the world is not going to help a generic listing like this get any sales. So see what I mean? Fundamentally, what you need to fix is your listing. There's a huge difference between a listing like this, which I hate to break it to you. Most beginners, this is the kind of listings that they upload, where there's no emotional connection. They haven't done any homework when it comes to understanding what people are into and understanding who their potential customer is. What is the purpose of this gift? Who would you give this gift to? Would you buy it for yourself? And if you would buy it for yourself, why would you buy it for yourself? It's missing that Hallmark card. item. It's missing an element that provides an emotional connection between me and this product. Versus here, there are plenty of triggers, right? I'm giving this to someone who is a difference maker, maybe in my life, maybe as a coworker, you name it. So, secret number 2 for today is hijacking the subconscious mind of your customer. This is how you turn them from lurkers into buyers. This is what I mean by having that high emotional, sentimental gift, something that is going to drive a reaction, whether it's making them laugh, it's making them cry, it's creating that element that is making them want that gift no matter what. And that's the hard part, I'm not going to lie, right? So how do you do that? You understand customers' behavior. And this is a FUG behavioral model, which explains how we as humans operate. So if we have a high motivation, um, it could be driven, I mean, it could be anything. So most of you have side hustles or working on your Etsy business because you have a high motivation to change your current situation. And even though it's hard to do, you're putting in the work, right? Versus somebody who has low motivation is going to give up because it's not easy to do. So the same comes with when creating an Etsy listing, right? So personalization is great, but I've seen listing where there's too much personalization. So it's overwhelming for a customer. It's hard to do. So they don't take action and actually purchase the item. So this is why customer psychology is so important, because it's going to help you understand, first, making sure that that gift has an emotional factor that's going to make your customer want to go ahead and buy it. And that emotional factor could be anything. It really depends on each and every customer, right? So how do you create that highly emotional factor while understanding the relationship between motivation and ability, and what their likeliness is of them taking action? So we know that if you have low motivation, but something's hard to do, you're not going to take action. If you have low motivation and it's easy to do, you are going to take action. So just to share an example here, this is actually currently trending. The Trader Joe's bag. It's trending on TikTok, and you can find it selling. This is a $3 bag, by the way. You can find it selling on Trader Joe on eBay right now for as much as $100, which is, I mean, completely insane. But trend and demand are kind of interlaced, because it kind of explains customer behaviors, and people get confused a lot of times because they think that trends are very ephemeral, and not all trends are created equal. Overall, it's important to understand consumers' behavior and why they're purchasing certain items, right? So these bags are essentially, like, these tote bags are going viral because of a couple of viral videos. But overall, it's because spring is around the corner and people want something that is functional. Farmer's bag actually have been trending now for a couple months. These are $3 bags. I mean, you name it, right? And so not just the product, because people get caught up, right? So they're like, okay, this is trending, let me do a tote bag. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do a tote bag, right? So this tote bag has had $3,000 in sales. And the Silly Ghost is actually something that also has been trending. So they're like combining the product with an element that has been trending, right? But overall, it's understanding, what you need to understand is who your customer is and why they're purchasing what they're purchasing, right? And so a lot of that comes from being active on social media, being active on Pinterest, being active on TikTok, not just looking at the data that is provided to you inside research tools, but looking at everything cohesively. This is where the gold nuggets are, right? Another better example that I can give you is ChatGPT and DALL-E E3 prompts. Obviously, ChatGPT and AI in general has been trending for a while. folks are needing help with creating ebooks, or they just want a reference, like prompts, AI reference. And so obviously something like that is going to do well. People are wanting to do AI art as well. So again, it's understanding what are people into and where is there an opportunity. And by the way, guys, like I'm showing you in this case digital products, but it can also work for print on demand, right? You just have to really understand what are people in tuned with, like what is going on. And a lot of that data is also on Etsy, but you just have to look in other places to understand where the opportunities are. Or this done for you faceless digital marketing. There's a lot of videos right now talking about faceless digital marketing, how to do a faceless TikTok or IG account or YouTube account. So this is essentially a guide to help people create Instagram profits, right? So something like that is going to have maybe a little less competition because it hasn't been done yet, right? But all that to say is that you have to take all the different data sets that are provided to you and blend them together, is what I'm trying to say. So this is a perfect example of that, right? So this is a candle that was just uploaded just a few months ago. It's already made $3,000, $3,900 in revenue. We know Mother's Day is around the corner. I've never seen this before. Thanks for your DNA. And like, so essentially, this data of this actual sentence might have been pulled from either social media, from Instagram, somewhere. It's been pulled from somewhere, right? Or they're playing with ideas and whatnot. And so they're taking those different data sets that they're getting through looking at what people are talking about and blending it together. And that's the hard part, right? But once, in order to understand what works, right? I'm going to show you kind of some of the questions you have to think about, right? Like it's all about going back to understanding customer psychology. This baby witch bundle, which also made $33,000 in revenue. And notice here, a lot of the examples that I share are not obvious examples. And this is where the gold is. Like what everybody is busy fighting over family niches, which I'm not saying there's not opportunities, but as a beginner, it can be a little trickier. And that's why it's more important to think differently. And what I mean by think differently is think about your end customer and how you can find a differentiator. Or this one, Mom, I want to hear your story. This is also something that was just uploaded not that long ago and has a $9,000 in revenue. And the reason is, again, there's an emotional pull. Mom, I want to hear your story. So something simple that can be recreated with either a Printify journal or Shine On journal. So your homework. I want you to look at the bestsellers you found yesterday. And if you didn't go through yesterday's challenge, make sure to watch it. And based on what you found on the different stores that you identified, I want you to not only just reverse engineer to understand why those listings are doing so well, maybe try to see what the trend is or why there's demand, like try to understand your customer. But overall, who is your buyer, right? Like, and you need to go nitty gritty with this. Like who are they specifically, right? And it could be just like one fictional character, obviously. What is their motivation for buying? Are they buying this item as a gift? Are they buying it for themselves? Why would they buy this? And what are their like and dislikes? So try to put yourself in the head of your customer. Like, so somebody who purchased something like that, it's somebody who's into esoteric. Perhaps it's someone who's younger. They're looking for a beginner witchcraft guy, like whatever that is, right? So try to understand who your ideal customer is by looking at these bestsellers and reverse engineer from there. And you have to have as many details as possible. Why am I asking you to do this exercise? I know it sounds boring. I know, I get it. Because when you have that data, then when you actually create a listing, it's going to be easier for you to understand what's going to work versus what's not going to work. Because a lot of time, unfortunately, let me show you this listing. Again, I'm sorry, whomever created this, but When you see a listing like this, they did not put enough effort into asking themselves the important question of who their potential customer is, right? So why would this customer buy this item? What kind of customer is it? So somebody who loves the ocean, somebody who wants to save the turtles. Okay, is there data that people are purchasing this, right? And so if there is, what are they purchasing? Is there perhaps a symbol like what? So see where I'm going with this? Like you have to understand what the purpose of the gift is. Why would somebody purchase it? What kind of person are they? And what their likes and dislikes are. And this exercise will help you create stronger listings. So I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's challenge is we're going to talk about a simple hack to make customers crazy about your Etsy listing. Make sure to do these two homeworks. They're really going to help you in creating that irresistible listing. I'll see